Hey guys, so today we have a Kenwood KDC, I believe it's an X715, and this thing, it is a rotating face. It does not turn on, it does not rotate, it doesn't do anything. I checked the fuse on the back, it's good. Power's getting to the unit. More than likely, it is the ribbon. In this case, in these units, generally that's what happens with these units. Generally they go bad. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So first thing we need to do is take off the cover on the top. There's two screws, so we're going to go ahead and take those off. Those two screws, and make sure you have a little, like a tray, like a magnet tray to hold on to your stuff, so that way you're not losing anything, because these are there's only a couple tiny screws on this one. Most of the screws are probably going to be the same size as the cover, so there's two here, and then we're going to have three on the CD player, one here and then two in here. So we're going to go ahead and remove those, and then the other two are going to be inside of here. One of them is right here. We're going to go ahead and take that one off. And the other one is over here. Grab those two there. And then next thing we want to do is we want to take the CD or the laser out. I'm going to go ahead and flip the stereo around so we can actually see the connector, which is right here. This is the connector. And then we want to push on those two little tabs up. And there. Then we want to go ahead and lift up. And then pull the laser out. This and move it aside. Okay. So the next step is going to be, we're going to go ahead and pull this little cover off of here on the top, and inside of here there's a bolt here, and then there's two little tiny ones on each side. I'm going to take that one off first, and then the next one's over here. Side. Now these are super tiny, so be really, really careful with these that you don't drop them. Sure that the tips are magnetic, or you have some kind of a thing like this, like a magnet, can magnetize almost any screwdriver. I don't remember where I bought that. Okay, so the next step is going to be to pull this up and get it out the way. And then now we're going to go ahead and unclip these two little clips here. You can use your fingernail or a little flat screwdriver. Go ahead and release the ribbon. Just pull up on this and then slide it towards us. So we're going to pull up on this little end here and then slide it towards us. Now on some faces, on some of these type of dual face stereos, you can manually move this face thing here. On this one, it's very, very hard if you can. It might need some help. Let me see. Yeah. So on this one it's very tough, because this one the motor is really, really hard. You want to get that face semi-flat. Because we want to do is we want to take this faceplate off, okay? Now, if you can get your hand under there and slide it off, great, but I think this has to be almost laying down or kind of like this to be able to get the face off. That's usually how these slide off. Because if you try to do this any other way, you're not going to be able to do the repair. This has to come off, okay? Because we need to get in here. Now, the next step would be to take off these little 4 screws here. Okay. Now, I've already done this repair, so I'm kind of cheating here, but I'm kind of going backwards here because I didn't record any of this stuff before. But the next step would be we're going to take off these little screws here. I'll get in your way. So once you got those 4 screws off, now the next step is going to be we're going to take the ribbon out from in here. Okay. Now, really important here. What I would suggest is before you pull this ribbon out, you try to count how many times this little tensioner unwinds. Okay. So like right now we have that sitting, this piece right here is like our guide. It's actually a little hook that hooks onto the side here if we want to lock it into place. So we, like say right there, so we don't want the thing to spin. It's like a little lock. So we're going to pull it out, and I'm going to slowly unwind this. I'm going to try to unwind it to kind of give me an idea of what we're talking about here, like what's going on. So I'm going to try to pull this. I'm going to pull on this towards me slowly, and I'm going to unwind it. So it's going to spin. Get that out of the way. So I'm going to try to count how many times. Actually winded it up 4 times. What you want it to do is you want it to wind and hook. So it goes like that. So I had actually winded this thing up. I winded it up 4 turns. And it's probably only to give it some tension. And then I went ahead and I stuck my ribbon in there and I slid it through. And then when I let it go, it spun around a couple of times and wind it up. So I tried it on 3 turns, and it was just too much ribbon still kind of sticking out, and it was hitting on this front plate on the back. So I took it out again and I winded it up 1 more time. So I actually did 4 turns, 4 complete turns. Then I stuck the ribbon in. And when you stick the ribbon in there, when you go to slide it through that little guide, through this part right here, you see that little hook right there? This is the guide right here. So it goes down like that, and it's got a loop underneath and then come out. When you go to stick the ribbon in there, you want to make sure to go in and make sure that the whole ribbon goes in. This part's going to go in first, obviously, and then you want the part with the little connections to follow. Sometimes what it wants to do, it wants to go under the board, and then just this part's popping out. You're going to rip the ribbon. So make sure that the whole thing that goes in is coming out. And as you're doing that, you're obviously unwinding it to try to get it to come up and under this little piece right here. So that's that when we get to that point. Now the next step here, you do have to take this metal plate off of this plastic piece. The way I did it is I took my heat gun and I just kind of lightly went over it and kept going over and over it till I got it nice and warm, and then I started to pull the metal, not the sticker part, the metal off of this plastic. Once you get that whole piece off of there, it'll expose this ribbon that goes like this, and then it goes this way, and then it comes down onto here. You're going to take these two screws off of here, and then you're going to go ahead and take and pull this ribbon completely off of this piece. Okay? And then what we're going to do next is we're going to unsolder all these pieces off of this plate on each of the sides. So the next step in our repair, we got our new ribbon. So we need to take this little piece off of this ribbon. We need to reuse it, so we need to unsolder all these little points on here. 2, 4, so I think it's 7 on one side and 2, looks like 6 on the other side. So we need to unsolder those. This is going to probably be, I believe, to be the hardest part of the repair. Just because you want to get these off without damaging. These are tiny, tiny little legs that are on here that we need to get off of here without damaging anything. So sometimes it's a little bit tough to try to get this off. So we want to get our soldering gun and we want to get a solder sucker. Something that's going to suck the solder. So we're going to go ahead and hit every single one of these, take the solder off of there. And once we get that off, then we're going to slowly try to release it off of the little ribbon. Now, even when you get most of the solder off of this, you're going to have to go back and hit it again with the soldering gun and kind of pull it off of the board, off of the ribbon, I'm sorry. You have to pull it off of the ribbon. Just because it's really hard to get the solder because it's such a tight area that you might not be getting all the solder off of there. Over. And we want to go ahead and take these off too. Now I did a repair on a different model Kenwood, and that one I took this piece off it just the same way. The other one seemed to be a little bit easier to remove than this one. This one's just kind of being a little bit more stubborn. So when I get to this part right here where I got most of the solder, I like to put my soldering gun on the actual leg here and then kind of push down on it as I'm pulling up on the piece to try to get it to release. There it is, it released that. The leg on there. And you can actually hear it releasing from the So we got those all to release off of this side. I'll flip it over. Just be careful because it does get a little bit warm. Now the only thing we're concerned on with this are these pins. We're not so much concerned about the actual we're not concerned about the actual ribbon itself if we damage it. So we just want to make sure we get the these pins unsoldered from this piece here. And there we go. So if we flip it over, you can see the little legs. Push those back down. And you see that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the other side. So you can't solder it wrong. So then the next step would be we would take our new ribbon and we're going to go ahead and we would solder it onto there. Be the next step. So we want to make sure, first of all, that these are the same. Lengthwise. Obviously they're made from a different manufacturer, I guess. And this one does come with some kind of a little metal plate on here. This one actually has plastic. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and first thing we want to do is place this on here. Make sure we have the right placement. You want to line them up on the flex ribbon. And then what we're going to do is we're going to dab each one with some solder. Now, last time I did this, same thing, I don't have a different soldering gun. I have a wielder, and it gets pretty hot. So if you have one that's temperature controlled, you can control the temperature a little bit, just get it hot enough to where you can just dab enough on there. That would be great. This is the only one I have. If some of the legs on this look a little crooked, you might want to straighten them out. If they got crooked when you were trying to pull them off. Now in here, I don't want to use a lot of solder. I don't want to put a big old blob on there. I'm just trying to put enough just to get it on there. Try to keep yourself from putting a lot of solder on the tip, because then you're going to put a big old blob on there, and that's not what you want. Try to make this as clean as possible in here, and get the solder on there as quick as possible so that you're not heating up that ribbon too much, especially me, because I do have a soldering gun that gets pretty hot. This one's actually soldering really fast this time. Last time it didn't solder this quick, but this time it's actually soldering really good. So that's one side. Just make sure we're going to go back and hit each one of these, make sure. And we can actually test the contacts with a meter on this side, and then right on these little gold connections that are inside of here. These ones, if you go to here with a meter, you can check to make sure you have a good connection there. That's what I did last time. Just checked it just to double check, because I didn't think I had such a good solder last time when I did it on the other repair that I did. This side's a little harder to solder because the board is right here, and I don't want to touch the board and burn it. So so far, this is going way faster than I did the other one. I struggled with the other one. And they say that's the good thing about when you do stuff, man. Sometimes you'll learn the second time around to do it a little differently. In the other repair, I actually accidentally pulled this little metal plate off, not knowing, because I hadn't done one of these repairs this style, where you have to take off the little plate. I hadn't done a repair on this like this. I had only done the ones where you didn't have to, the ribbon didn't come off all the way to here. It only went to the inside of the faceplate. Okay. So that looks pretty decent on that side. And that side right there. So I'm going to grab my meter real quick. I'm going to try to test this to see, make sure I have a good connection before I go putting everything away. And we just put it on impedance, because we're going to try to see if we have, as long as we have continuity, not resistance. Is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins up on top. So what we want to do is we want to put our one end here and then one end here, and then look at our meter, and our meter shows that there's continuity there. So right now you see nothing. Together you'll see a bunch of zeros, and that's our continuity. Perfect. So we just want to see zeros right there. And on there. So even if I accidentally hit this metal piece, it's not going to give me continuity there. So you have to hit the actual. If I go to the next one, it shouldn't give me anything. So it should only do it on the one that's there. And that one, that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. Okay, so we got all those on that side. Let's flip it around. Let's check the other side. We're good there. Good there. Good there. Good, we got continuity on everything, so that's great. It's great news. So we got this all soldered back up, and the unit is right here. All the pieces to it, all our screws. Okay, so our next step is to get this piece back onto this plate. So I'm going to turn it around. And from the back side of the plate, we're going to go ahead and put this piece through here. As you can see right here, this little spot here goes right there. And now you flip it over, 2 little screws go there. There. Okay, so the next step here is going to be to attach this piece back to the metal piece. Now it was held on with some sort of a double-sided tape, but a really, really thin layered tape. I don't have anything like this, and if I use regular double-sided tape like this, it's a little bit thick. Don't know if it's going to be too thick for this, because this sits in there pretty flush. I mean, if I put that double-sided tape, it might make this stick out. Like so. I don't know if that'll, I think it'll affect it on this side, because then this side won't be sitting down kind of flat. My other option is try to reheat up this with the heat gun, try to get it sticky and then put it back on there. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm just grabbing a heat gun. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth on this, try to heat up the old remnants of the, you don't want to heat this up too much because it is plastic. Kind of doing it a little bit far away, and it's getting a little sticky. I get it sticky enough to where it'll grab and hold. I guess I can heat this part up over here. Just gotta move the ribbon out of the way first. Now, there's little spots like right here and right here that go into this metal part. I just can't see it. Because this sticker's on there. I guess if you move it around a little bit, it should go right into place. This side's sticking still good. This side's the one that's not sticking very well. So we're through there. We're through there. Yeah, this side's the one that might need a little dab of some stuff right here. need to rotate this. So this little metal piece, we're using it as a reference guide. We're going to go ahead and rotate it towards us. There's one full turn. Keep your eye on this part right here. Little hook thing right there. I'm going to rotate it again. That's 2 full turns. I'm going to go one more time. Now, if you push it that way, that little thing, it'll actually hook right there, and it'll keep it from rotating back, and it'll give you the opportunity to put this piece in. So I'm going to rotate it a little bit more so I can slide this in right here, in between here and here. That this part right here does not get hooked on underneath. It goes through with this, that these two pieces go through the same area. Okay? Turn it. There we go. We got the whole thing through the same area. Again, make sure that this part doesn't go down and this part's going through the area where you want it to go. You want it to all go through the same spot. It kind of seemed like it wanted to go under the board. So I'm going to pull that up, and then that attaches right here at this little connector here. I'm going to go ahead and pull this through. So it's real important to have the old ribbon here, because the old ribbon is going to kind of tell us where that bend is. And as we're looking at it, the bend is way over here, okay? So we don't want to pull the whole ribbon through. Not yet. So we want to pull this ribbon, pull it back out, line it up. So the bend is going to be right around here. So this is the part that we want to go onto here, because that's the part that's going to actually bend and then turn around and go like that. So the first bend is going to be right around over here. So it'll be something like that. Right when the cable starts to open up, that's right where you have it, and I think it's right here. There's actually a marking on here. I can show you. Right there and right there. There's these two. Try to get it in the middle, line it up right here in the middle with the connector, and then we're going to slowly let this thing go, and it will kind of spin backwards and then wrap itself around. There it goes. Watch it. Might have to help it a little bit. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. And you see how it looped around? Perfect. And that's what we want. We want it to have a little bit of a loop in there. I'll make sure it's centered on there, and then now we can go ahead and put it inside this connector here, and then we can go ahead and lock that down. And that pretty much does that. Next step is to bolt this piece back onto here. So we're going to go ahead and on here. 4 little screws. Let me put one side on first. Lift that up. There's 1. There's 2. Push it down into place there, so it would go, so that little guide hole would go in, so that this last screw would go on there. So the next piece would be this top piece. So first what we want to do is make sure we line up the sides here, and then our holes line up on each side, here and here. And then also on the inside, that these will line up as well. Now we're going to have two tiny screws on the sides. So one side, we'll flip it around. There we go. And then on the inside, make sure that that's snapped into place on both sides, so that we're able to bolt down here and here. There's two. I noticed that when I started to put together this unit, that this ribbon in here was a little bit loose. I didn't remember how many turns I had actually pulled it tight, and I had it at 3 turns when I showed you guys. But actually, I think if you turn it one more time, it'll be like 4 full turns. The ribbon is nice and tight in there, not enough to break it or anything like that, but now it's rotating like it's supposed to, and this thing isn't affecting it, because once I was putting this down in there, it was actually hitting on there, and it was creating a lot of problems. The face wasn't rotating at all. Now I got it in there. The face does rotate. It does have a couple of issues. Sometimes it doesn't want to close like that, like it needs a little bit of assistance. I was thinking it was maybe the motor that was giving us a little bit of problems. But I also noticed if I pushed over on the side a little bit to open the side up a little bit, it would actually close up and open like it's supposed to. Just like that. And all I did was I stick the screwdriver in here and I kind of just bent it a little bit, and I actually heard a little bit of a pop. I don't know if maybe something just wasn't in there and this unit had already been taken apart, but seems to be fairly working good now. Opening and closing like it's supposed to. I'm going to go ahead and power it down. Unplug this real quick. I have the power off. And we're going to go ahead and finish off putting this together. So and now the CD mechanism will go in. It attaches right here. We're going to go ahead and open that up. It comes in the same way as this ribbon does. So actually, let's turn the radio around so we can see it come in from there. Try to slide it in. Like that, and we'll close these little pins here. These ones are a little bit bigger, so you could probably use your fingers to close them down. That lines up right there with that screw. So then we have 3 screws here that we're going to go ahead and put in. sure that it's all the way in, that you're able to line it up, get that screw in correctly. There's one. There's two. So we got, put one in here, and we put another screw here that holds the front of the CD player or the laser, and then we're going to put the last screw in here for the laser. Which goes on top. There we go there. And then the cover, excuse me. So it's got to go in here first. There we go. Much better. One screw back here, and then one screw over here. And then our face goes right on the front of here. Right on, it snaps in just like that.